I have been itching to start my review series with the Witchfinder book. As I'm sure it was really hard to tell, it is my favorite series in the Mignolaverse umbrella of books. This turned out to be kind of a bad idea for my first entry, however, as I ended up simply reading the book and forgetting to actually write anything. In the Service of Angels is the first entry in this series, and is the only entry solely written by Mike Mignola, barring the 8-page prequel short Murderous Intent. Mignola's writing brings with it its own sort of auteurism, and one of my highest praises for this series is the gamut of different writing, styles, and genres it brings into play, but more on that in later reviews. Use of small echoey voices seemingly coming from nowhere, a running emphasis on a twist on religion, and in this book's case whether there is any worth in believing in a god to which there is an overwhelming pile of evidence to him not existing, and on top of that a big brawny ghost monster thing, all have a very Mignola feel to them. Stenbeck's art in this series is interesting to me because you can look between this book and his more recent addition to the series, City of the Dead, to see how his style has shifted over time. While certainly the biggest difference between the two is the addition of washes in City of the Dead, and the change in coloring artist certainly makes the two distinct, you can still tell the difference between the two books by looking at how Grey is drawn in each, showcasing how his style has evolved over time. I personally really love his early and current work equally, so I wouldn't call this an improvement so much as a change. I don't want to go into too much detail on it because, well, let's face it, I went to school for narrative, not visual design, but I can't overstate my love for Stenbeck's artwork nonetheless. What I like most about this particular story is that it takes two things I love, noir and horror, and mixes them into a late Victorian setting, which is my personal favorite era for period pieces. While almost any noir-based occult detective story usually aims for the 1920s to 40s, it is very refreshing to see a hard-boiled detective character placed into the Victorian era, especially because detective stories set in this era are almost universally based around the Golden Age detective archetype. And when I make this distinction, what I mean by Golden Age detective is a detective like Sherlock Holmes that solves almost everything with his wit, not brawn or street smarts. On the opposite hand is the hard-boiled detective, a character that usually isn't quite as smart as they think they are and solves their problems through hard work. What I love about Edward Grey as a character is that he appears outwardly to be a Sherlock Holmes type, but is really on the inside very naive and arrogant. The characters in this book are wonderful, albeit a bit underused, more than likely due to the limitations of such a short series format. The Captain is a delightfully eccentric character that is in possession of one of my favorite thematic devices in the whole series. A small toy cow with the word Lilliput written on its side that the Captain insists is an actual cow from Lilliput. It poses the question that perhaps believing in something fictional is better than nothing at all, a running theme in this miniseries. While I do love this character, he doesn't pose as much weight in the narrative as I would like him to have. In fact, it seems a lot of the time that he is more of an observer rather than anything more substantial, which is disappointing. In a similar case, Mary Wolfe is introduced as a spirit medium who is forced to work under her neglectful brother's watch and serves as Grey's love interest. This is another character that I became attached to that unfortunately felt cut short due to the book's length. While I felt that she did have a bit more to do than the Captain, I feel that her relationship with Grey felt rushed. Frankly, I very rarely enjoy love at first sight type romances, especially in genres that try to make themselves seem more realistic, such as noir. And while I was able to get over it in the long run, I wish that I had more to get behind in terms of their relationship. In later arcs, when Grey references his love for Mary, it feels off-putting, as they only really knew each other for half a day. I can say, however, that the villainous group, the Heliopic Brotherhood of Ra, shine in this book as a fantastic series antagonist, and is absolutely one of my favorite Hellboy villain groups. Particularly, I enjoy them because in other books other than Witchfinder, they actually aren't always the villains. This group is more so the main villain of Witchfinder because of Grey's insatiable anger towards them, caused in reality by just a few people. This ambiguity as to whether the HBR is truly bad or good is why I love them so much. You can never fully tell. While I do wish they were able to fit in just a bit more to round out this 5-issue mini, I can't be mad given just how much I did get from this book. It is one of my favorite Mignolaverse books overall, and it kickstarted my favorite Mignolaverse series too. It was also my gateway drug to Stenbeck's artwork, who is now one of my favorite artists, along with Dave Stewart's colors, although I had already been a fan of his at the time. At the end of all of my future reviews, I will rank the reviewed book against all of my past reviews. This won't be based on anything other than my pure personal bias, so don't read into it too much. It's just fun. Since this is my first review, there isn't really anything to rank it against, so here's a good old thumbs up to Witchfinder in the Service of Angels. Yahoo! Yeehaw! End of the review. Woo! I did all that. Woo! I hope you guys had fun. Bye.